Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 12 of Coffee Chats. Today I'm here with Michelle Almedia, and we're going to talk about kind of all things uni and mental health at uni, which I think is a very important conversation to have, especially at the moment. Hey, Michelle.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thanks. So, the way that I start off every episode is by asking my guests for 3 fun facts about them. So, what are 3 fun facts about you?
Fun facts about me. Oh, okay. I don't really think they're going to be fun, but I have this tendency to, I like to plan everything. I'm like a sucker for bullet points.
I love you.
Everything that I like to everything that I like to get done, I put these bullet points everywhere on like my hand, on notebooks, on like sheet of paper that I see around me. Is that all? You need three
Yeah.
facts? Okay, wow. There's nothing really fun, nothing much fun about me. Oh, I do love to talk a lot, if that's a fun element. I cannot shut up. That's something that troubles my mom a lot. And like my dad and mom just keep passing me to each other to continue ranting to them. And I love to drive. I find driving very therapeutic, especially like blasting music in the car and just like going on like long drives. That's something I really enjoy doing. Those are the fun facts that I can think of right now.
What music do you listen to on your drives?
Oh, I love Spanglish music. That's my favorite. Like the Daddy Yankee and the Ozuna songs. Those are the best that I really love.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so what has been the highlight of your week?
The highlight of my week, wow, it's been an exhausting week, but we just had our first news day yesterday. And like we pretended to be like in a newsroom, only this time it was virtual, but we got like a lot of news stories out. So that was the best part of this week. All my stories I worked on for the week, for the entire week has gone up, and I'm just really glad and just glad it's done with and that it was a successful event. So yeah,
That,
that was the highlight.
that sounds really good. Yeah, so as this podcast is called Coffee Chats, I like to ask everyone what their coffee order is, or if they don't like coffee, like what drink they get if they go to a coffee shop. So, yeah.
So the thing is, I love coffee. I need a caffeine, but I recently found out I was intolerant to caffeine, and so I had to like cut down. But until then, I used to love lattes, especially iced lattes. Those are like my favorite. Every time any Starbucks order, any Costa's order would just be an iced caramel latte, and that was it. Now, unfortunately, I've had to like resort to tea or orange juice, and it's a bit sad, but yeah, that's when you order.
Okay, so what do you do? So, what do you study? All of that stuff.
I am a second year journalism student at the University of Sheffield, and while pursuing my degree, I am currently the beauty editor of my university's magazine, Liberty Bell, and I am the director of writing for an online magazine called Effervescence, and I'm the ambassador for a blog that focuses on mental health, and it's a global initiative called Ukiyo Minds, and that's pretty much about me. I mean, I am in the process of like launching my own podcast show or radio. We're not sure yet, but yeah, I want to get into the field of broadcasting. So a lot of plans going into that. But yeah, that's it. That's all I am right now.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about doing a journalism master's after I'm doing a criminology. I'm second year criminology student at the moment, but I'm
Wow.
doing like a journalism master's afterwards. So it's really interesting to hear like the kind of
Oh,
thing.
it's gonna be an intense 2 years, I think, for a master's program in I think in the UK. So yeah, it's gonna be a good 2 years with like a lot of practical work, running around, meetings and stuff. You're gonna enjoy it. It's fun. It's a really fun course.
Yeah, yeah, it does sound so fun. So, what has your academic experience slash uni sort of journey been so far up to this point?
Okay, so for me, academics is something I have always struggled with. I won't say I was like a bad student or like I was poor in my academics, but I always took unnecessary pressure over it, over the whole stress of, performing well and reaching certain expectations. That was something that I put on myself. But I think ever since university began, I think that entire pressure just eased up a little because, it's a new life, it's a new experience altogether. You're leaving the entire the clutches of high school, and you're like experiencing something new, and you're experiencing something a lot more fun. You're meeting new people, you have a chance to start fresh. So yeah, the pressures really did reduce, but I think it's come back now in second year. Now that things are a lot more serious, and you're about to like you're going to about to finish another year, and then going to pursue another year, and then you're going to get out into the real world. There's a lot to think about. So definitely the pressures have like increased back, and there's a lot of like challenges, especially on the mental health aspect. I think students put a lot of pressure on themselves to perform a certain way, and they have like a lot of expectations off of themselves, and like they have these standards that they put. And yeah, definitely it's been a pressuring journey, and you bring the pandemic into it, it's worsened it even more. So yeah, it's pretty exhausting and pressuring time right now with the academic aspect.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think second year, first year is so like relaxed compared to A levels, and then second year is just like, whoa, okay, and now it actually matters and like it's important.
No, to the whole grind of competition and performing and learning and attending classes all together. Yeah, it's becoming a challenge now.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. So something that I feel like is spoken about kind of a lot, but also kind of not a lot, is how much of a bubble it is being at uni. I would say not so much now because we're all online, it's a bit different. But in general, university is such a bubble of people who are kind of studying. Often people have like very similar views as well, which I think is interesting. So what are your kind of thoughts on that and the way that it affects your mental health and your experience?
Oh, I think it's something that is a really, really important matter. And I think it's something that affects a lot of students because it's not just a bubble of those who are studying, it's about those who are not and are more focused on different aspects of their course, especially with like fields like media or like, any practical element where where you can do so much with it, and you see yourself you see yourself comparing yourself often to other people about the way people perform. There's a lot of bubbles out there. You have those who are constantly studying and producing content and are performing, and they're getting the recognition for it. Then you have those who don't care, don't want to study, are just like using the whole lockdowns and the whole pandemic situation to their advantage and just making the most out of like the fun that they can have. And then you have those who are struggling, and then they are trying to figure out how to reach up to a certain level, but there's a lot of things that is holding them back, and then they're not able to bring out those results of what they are working hard towards. So yeah, I think it's a really bubbled up thing right now, and it's really affecting students' mental health because especially when you bring in the middle group of students who want to be who want to use this time, who want to use that extra bit of time of not traveling to college and not traveling, have to like live in dorm rooms and stuff, and they want to make the most out of it, but they're just not able to. It's affecting them a lot. You often find yourself comparing your work and your results and your you know the work that you're putting out there, you're often comparing it to those who are easily able to produce it and achieve those fantastic results. And yeah, it really does take a toll on your mental health because you resort to demeaning your work and you are putting yourself down, and that's just a very toxic environment. I mean, you would expect this, back in school where teachers and students would blatantly insult you for your work of like not performing well, but when you come to university, you're left to do things yourself, and it's up to you to take that pressure on yourself or not. And then you have that group of students who want to take that pressure and who want to like perform to a certain level, but just not able to. So yes, that part, and when you link it to mental health, it does affect students a lot, and it does affect how your opinion on the whole education system and the academic part of it.
Yeah, I think the comparison part is so huge because you can like even just like so much as at the moment whether you actually manage to attend your lecture. and then you're like, they got up and went, but I didn't. Now I'm going to be behind, or they've already started planning for their assignment, but I haven't.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of talk that's even happening about like the whole group chats and how intense they get. I think especially universities, not is no longer a time when our parents are looped in with like circulars and used to get like these forms and about what happenings in school and making students aware. Now it's like if you need to know, if you want to know about something, you have to take the initiative for it. And there are those who just tend to forget because it's like 100 different things you have in mind. You're not just in school, you're not just studying anymore, you're learning, and you're trying to like figure your way out for the real world once you graduate. And there's a lot to look into, and there's a lot to take on during this time. And while some can manage it wonderfully, and that's an amazing talent, there are those who just cannot take on that pressure, and it cripples something within them. And I think that's something that really needs to be addressed a lot more, and I think more support needs to be given on those things. And I really hope universities do provide that support to these students who really need it, because as of now, just signposting and advising them is not enough. There are those who need an extended amount of support, and just expecting them to constantly book an appointment over and over again, and just not showing the kind of encouragement like to come and take like longer treatment or longer help from us. It's just not the right thing that universities are doing. So yeah, there's a lot of talk that's happening over these pressures and these bubbles and the whole comparison and competition thing. And I hope there's something that can be done to help these students who are struggling with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so my next point was sort of about like mental health and the way that unis handle students' mental health. That's been such a big thing over the past like 3 years, I would say. And now, as the pandemic has highlighted so many issues within society, but I think this within universities, it's definitely highlighted mental health. And like especially when, I don't know if you went to campus at all, but I went back to campus in September, and I was very nervous about it. I would have kind of preferred to have just stayed at home, but I thought I'd give it a go. And then within like 3 weeks of me being there, all those news reports started coming out about how we might not be allowed to go home for the holidays. And that was so much to send. Like I know we're adults, but we aren't used to being away from home. And we have also, like, because I was only second year, when I was a first year, I only was actually at uni for like 6 months before I was then home for COVID. So it's just so much to put on young people on top of all of their academic pressures. So yeah, what are your views on that?
Oh, I don't think the university has handled the whole mental health aspect well at all. Like I said before, students, I mean, the mental health that is being offered is like very short term, and that does not help students who need it. And then signposting just wastes a lot of time, and I wish they could do something better for it. With the whole thing of attending campus, I, as an international student, had to travel overseas, and I had to set up my dorm room, quarantine in it, and then only for like the entire classes to be suspended within like 2 weeks. So that was like horrible, because it's not a joke to travel like 9 hours and then be locked in and only be called for just one face-to-face like in-person class. And that was just the worst thing they could have done for us. And then it's there's a lot of things that come into this whole context of like how they've handled it so badly for students, because they did call us, and then we paid the whole rent thing, and then and then only for us to like go back for the holidays, and then now we're not coming back until like the end of the term. So there's a lot of factors that are like bringing in like that level of anxiety in students over the funding, over the rent, over the the university, the tuition fees. So there's a lot that's affecting students, and there's barely any support. The mental health, the advice facility that they're providing, they are providing it, but it's not sufficient. I won't say that they're not providing, but it's just not handled well. I attended like one session of like from like my mental health department, and within like 2 sessions, she just told me to go and attend another meeting from like external, from outside the university, which is not practical. given like the whole waiting and taking filling those forms. It just, I find that it's like a total waste of time, and like students need the support. There's a lot of like drastic measures the students take when they're not able to cope with it, and then just wasting that amount of time where they could just save the life of like the mental health of the student with, before they could resort to such extreme means. I wish they could have, I wish they do something. I hope they do something about this. So no, I will definitely agree with the fact that they've not handled it well at all.
Yeah.
They've brought in students, and a lot of students, when they come in, they're just like left in their dorm rooms alone, when they would have just preferred staying at home with like family and like a few friends around. You can't call students and expect them to live in their dorm rooms and then not expect them to go around in like the university city. Like, what's the point of that entire thing? You're just not letting them breathe. You're not letting them cope with like being with friends. You're not letting them enjoy the whole life of being in university. And yeah, it's a really toxic thing that a lot of students have had to undergo, and it's been like a horrible time like this entire past year. And like the fact that they're calling us back again is just a bit worrisome, that you're going to call students for just like 1 to 2 face-to-face classes, and again if cases rise, they're going to like shut down everything again. And it's not, I mean, I know you can't blame them because it's the students too who are not taking this thing seriously. I can like point out like 10 different news stories that came out about how students were like throwing parties and like meeting up in like groups more than six, and just refusing to follow those quarantine rules or any other social distancing rules during the whole pandemic, like last year back in September. And that's part, you can't just blame the university, because
Yeah.
even though we are students, we are adults at the same time, and some of us need to act maturely. And for me, I was so paranoid with the way the cases were rising back in Sheffield that I was just not leaving my dorm room, which further just made it worse, just living in that small room when I could have just come home and like lived with my family, and like that entire travel would have not been necessary. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of things that like build up on the mental health bit, and just providing us the service of like the facility of one meeting and expecting everything to be okay is not, it's not justified. It makes no sense. And signposting students, I think it's a ridiculous thing, because I mean we are paying you for like facilities of the university, and you're not even providing us with like the library facilities or returning, but at least provide good mental health service, because that's something we need. You can't keep signposting students to go and take external help and external support. Like, that's not the point of paying you 9K and international students 18K for you just going and signposting us all around.
That's so much money. What?
Yeah, it's a literal, it's painful to see that 18K and then not coming to university and not using the facilities that they should be providing in the first place.
That's
But
mad.
yeah, I mean, you can't even like fight with them because they're not going to agree on anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's not,
Ima-
in a way, I guess there's not much individual universities can do about it.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah.
I guess it's more of a government issue.
You can't blame the universities, but I mean, I think we just need somebody to hold accountable for like the pressures that we are like facing right now.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, because I know I have quite a few viewers who are like looking to apply to the university that I go to. So don't let the mental health issue stuff put you off the uni or any uni, because like uni is still a good experience. It's still really great to go. But I think it is important to be aware of it and to make sure you know how you can get that support, or to make sure you have those support networks around you before you go to uni. Because once you get there, if you're not aware of that, or if you don't know where you can find that support within the university, it can be a little bit scary.
Yeah.
uh, and yeah, like the signposting is the start, I guess, but in general, mental health support around the world just needs to be improved.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that completely. And I hope they do something over this. And I really hope the students take a good decision. I think the pandemic has just really revealed how horribly the things are like looked after, and how many things we let pass by without like taking the support that we need. And yeah, the students really need to like take a good decision when they like join university next year, because under stressful situations like this, the universities or the government have not handled the situation properly at all.
I definitely agree. Do you have any tips for students for coping with their mental health at university?
I would say limit your social media exposure being the most important thing, especially now that there's like you don't have any other way of contacting people, and the only time you'll see a post is when students would either be talking about their achievements or talking about what they plan to do and stuff, and that often is like the starting point for your like breakdowns and your technique, all your worry creeps in about you comparing yourself that, oh my god, they are doing this and I haven't done anything, I've just like Netflixed all day or like binge watched like movies or something. So that's when that's the starting point of that all that pressure that builds on. So I would say right now limit your social media exposure if you want to like just have a really stress-free university experience. And even if you are expected to like be on social media, like for my course I'm expected to be on like Twitter continuously and Facebook, and I hate it because I find that it brings out a really ugly side of my competitive and academic behavior. So I would say just try to like cut down on the amount of time you spend in, and learn to find like these tactics on how to ignore and avoid things that you're not you're going to be um, affected by. Switch off the notifications if you can't, like if you're not allowed or you're not able to get away from the social media altogether. Then I would suggest is that just stop comparing yourself. I think everybody needs to realize that things will happen at the right time. You just need to wait for it, and you just need to take do things your pace. Not everybody has the same capability and the same ability to perform at the same time and perform at a particular set of standards. So I think you just need to like realize that you have to be kind to yourself and just accept that you're gonna get there, but it's gonna take a different route. It's gonna take some more time, or maybe that's just not meant for you, and there's something else better out there for you, and you need to just realize that it's gonna take a while to accept when you see that entire atmosphere of like students are just trying to find ways to build up on their CV and work towards achieving a lot more right now so that they can get a good job. But you just need to realize that it's going to take time, and you can't pressure yourself right now just because you've seen someone do better than you at something.
Yeah.
um I mean, you have to sort of like learn to accept that you've wasted that time as well, and like accept that you've not put in that work and that they have when you went. Just take things slowly. Like, don't worry about like performing and academic stress and your entire mental. Just don't let things affect you, because at the end of the day, if you're not going to have a good health and good mental health, there's no point of like performing well at all, because that's everything depends upon your health. So
Yeah.
just take things slow, and everything will fall into place. And don't put pressure on yourself, it's not needed.
And also, like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Have, like, just take a bit of time to not be stressed, or let yourself have that time to sit in bed and watch some movies. Like, it's important. This is not something that any of us expected to have to go through ever, let alone like right now. So, like, it's okay. I think that's what people need to remember a lot. And it is hard.
Yeah,
Like, it is
we've
difficult.
all gone through this phase of like uncertainty, and we've all had our own challenges. And I think it's just a matter of time of just like before you pick yourself up, it's gonna happen. You're gonna do something with all the hard work that you've put in so far. So you just need to wait for that time when things will just click in, because there's no point pressuring yourself for something that's already happened with someone else. You just have to take things slow, and accept that you're gonna get there. Be kind to yourself, just keep thinking, be positive, because there's something that I've learned over all the pressure that I put on myself before, is that you just need to just change your thinking altogether. Just work on how you look at the challenges that you're faced with. Look at all the negative thoughts that are creeping up on you, and just find ways to transform them into positivity, and then you'll see a huge difference in yourself. And I would say I would tell students is that keep in touch and keep asking for support from people you think you can rely on. I think this pandemic has really, really opened up people's eyes towards uh, the kind of like behavior and the kind of toxic environments people live in, and the struggles students or anybody in for that matter have gone through, and that people do have that thing in them to be sympathetic, and that they can help you and help support you in anything that you're going through. Just talk to people you can trust. Everyone, somebody out there is willing to listen to you and will listen to you if you want to like get things out, but don't hold things within yourself. Talk to a friend you trust, talk to a parent, talk to a teacher, because there are people out there. Everyone's under the belief that you're not gonna like no one's gonna listen to me, and I am like I'm a voiceless person, and no one's gonna ever pay heed to what I say, to my struggles. They will think that I'm trying to like just ask for attention if I say these things, but that's not what happens. People are ready to listen to you, and only thing you need to learn is that you need to put it out there and catch the people who you think are going to listen to you, and that could be anybody. But just tell people and talk to people, and don't hold these things over yourself, because after a point it just breaks something within you when you take on so much. So yeah, just talk to people, talk to a teacher, and take advice. That really helps with like take that advice, take the feedback on the chin, and then you can work towards your goals.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with all of that. And like with the social media thing, like you can mute people, you can mute group chats, you can
Yeah,
like even individual words on Twitter you can mute. Like if you don't want to see stuff about COVID on Twitter, even if it's just for a day, just mute the word COVID.
definitely. I would suggest that do that. Just the minute you feel it's getting too much, get away from from a toxic environment. There's nothing worse for your health and nothing worse for your well-being, that if more than like a toxic environment. And if you can detach yourself from it, get away from it as soon as possible. Switch off those Facebook Messenger chats, switch off your delete Instagram if it's taking a toll on you, and delete Facebook. And you'll see that the minute you do that, that entire pressure just falls off of you, and you will just be able to breathe, and then just focus on your work and take your time towards it, because that's what's going to help you at the end of the day, and not seeing somebody constantly put like messages on the group, or ask like just put up all their achievements and stuff, because that does build in a lot of pressure in students. I've noticed that, I've seen that, I've heard many students, I've interviewed students about it on like the kind of pressures that they're facing. And yeah, just get away from social media. I will say that is the first that, like I said, like I highlighted that as my first point of like tips for students, in that get away from social media as soon as possible, and just reduce the content.
Definitely agree with that. So that has brought us to our final question, which is something that I ask everyone, and I really like asking this question. So, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice, I would say everything happens for a reason. Don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself. You fail at something, it's okay, it's happened because of something, and there's a reason behind it. You've succeeded at something, again, there's a reason that backs it. But take whatever you get on the chin, and take it with and take something back from it, and just don't let that demotivate you. And that's it. That's the advice that I've been given. That's something I've prayed on this entire pandemic, and yeah, that's something I would tell students as well.
That's one of my favorite pieces of advice as well. Like you can apply it to everything, and it can just calm you down.
Yeah, that does. I mean, when I see, like when I go through Twitter and I see stuff like, I've done this, and then I see students like just compare themselves and they're arguing on like messages and stuff, it's just disappointing. And then you'll have somebody say this has happened for a reason, and I think that just resonates so much within a lot of us. When you keep hearing that, you'll realize that there's something better out there for you, and that don't let one setback or one failure define the 10 different successes you've had. And don't ever equate it to somebody else's success, because they don't know what you've done and you don't know what they've done. Just keep it at that. Don't go poking into the achievements of people. That's just going to kill you. It's going to like demotivate you. And Yeah, just take whatever you get on the chin with a pinch of salt, and you'll see yourself doing so much better without that kind of negativity and a toxic environment around you.
Yeah, definitely. So this was such a good conversation. I think it's such an important topic. And I really hope that this has helped some people, or it's just made some people think about how important it is to look after their mental health, or to look out for the people around them, especially as a student, because it is hard, especially at the moment. So thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on to my podcast.
So much for having me.
That's all right. So yeah, I hope everyone's enjoyed this episode. And I'll see you next week for the next one. Bye.